I used to count his breaths. Every night for a full year, I lay there beside him, frozen under the weight of silence. I knew. I always knew. But I said nothing. Not a word. Not a tear he could see. Not a scream he could hear. Because I was waiting. For him to confess. For him to crack. But he never did. Not once. He just slept beside me like I was invisible. Like we weren't once inseparable. Like he didn't just shatter my soul piece by piece while I kept pretending I was whole. Then one night, without warning, he turned to me in the dark. After 365 nights of nothing, he looked me in the eye and finally said, "It's time you knew everything." That's when I stopped breathing. Because I thought I knew. I thought the lipstick stain, the long nights at work, the coldness in his touch, I thought that was the betrayal. But what he was about to say, that was the beginning of a truth far more twisted than I was prepared to hear. His name was Carter. The kind of man who made other men feel small without saying a word. People respected him, not because he demanded it, but because he didn't have to. He moved with purpose. With silence. And maybe that should have warned me. But I was naive. We met at a conference. I was presenting a small case study on childhood trauma recovery. He was a corporate attorney, far out of my league, but somehow, that night, he wasn't. He walked up to me like he'd been waiting his whole life. Said, "Your voice cuts through noise." And that was it. 6 months later, I was living in his apartment. A year after that, we were married. The wedding was simple. Rainy. On a Tuesday. He said, "Why wait for sunshine when I've already found mine?" I melted. Everyone did. That was 3 years ago. Back when I thought a man's silence was strength. Back when I thought his long stares meant he was thinking about me. Back before I realized. He wasn't staring. He was hiding. It started small. The missed calls. The late nights. The way he flinched when I touched his phone. One night, I saw it. Lipstick. On his wrist. A pale mauve print, like someone kissed him in a rush. I asked nothing. Said nothing. Just watched. That's how the silence began. I set the table for 2 and stopped asking if he'd be home. I bought new sheets because the old ones still smelled like the nights he held me. I started counting his footsteps. His keys. His lies. But he never said a word. I cried in the shower where he couldn't hear. I painted on smiles at dinner with friends. Told my mother he was just overwhelmed with work. But even she heard the emptiness in my voice. I wasn't living with my husband. I was surviving beside a stranger. And I waited. Hoping maybe, just maybe, he'd break the silence first. But he didn't. So I did. The night I followed him, it was raining. He said he was going to the gym, but I knew it closed early on Fridays. I waited 15 minutes, then grabbed my keys. He wasn't at the gym. He wasn't with a woman. He was parked at the edge of a cemetery, staring at a photo. The car was off. His hands were shaking. I crouched low and crept forward until I could hear his voice through the crack in the window. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for it to go this far." He wasn't crying. But something about him was broken. Not guilty. Not angry. Broken. He pulled out an old flip phone. Not the one I'd seen him use. He typed something fast, then paused. Stared at it. Then, suddenly, he wiped it clean, opened the door, and tossed it deep into the woods. That's when I realized I wasn't the only secret in his life. The next morning, I woke up early and went back. It took me nearly 2 hours to find it. Mud-covered, screen cracked, but it powered on. No passcode. Just a list of saved videos. 7 of them. Each one started the same way: a girl, maybe 22, sitting in a dimly lit room, staring into the camera with eyes that looked lost. "If you're watching this," she said in the first video, "then maybe you finally told her. Or maybe she still sleeps beside you, clueless. Like I used to." My stomach dropped. Her name was Lily. She worked at his firm. An intern. Young. Hopeful. She talked about late-night meetings, promises he made. How he swore he'd leave me. How they had a plan. A timeline. She believed him. She loved him. She thought she was the future. But the last video, that one nearly killed me. She was crying, shaking, saying she missed her period, that he'd blocked her, that she didn't feel safe, that if anything happened to her, someone needed to look under the floorboards. She was scared. And then, she vanished. I didn't tell him what I'd seen. Not yet. That night, I climbed into bed and laid still beside him. And I stared. I watched his chest rise and fall. The faint movement of someone who slept too peacefully for a man hiding a body. He must have felt my stare. Because for the first time in a year, he turned. And said, "It's time you knew everything." He didn't even wait for me to respond. He sat up, eyes tired, and started talking. Said her name was Lily. That she was obsessed. That he made a mistake. A one-night slip. Said she followed him. Threatened him. Threatened me. He swore he tried to fix it. Said she started filming herself. Sending him clips. Saying he ruined her. Then one day, she disappeared. He claimed he didn't kill her. That he didn't know where she went. That she said she was going to vanish to punish him. I didn't believe him. Not fully. But I listened. He cried. Said he stayed with me because I was the only real thing in his life. That he didn't tell me because he thought I'd run. That he deserved the punishment of silence. That every night beside me was a sentence. Maybe part of me wanted to believe it. That he was just stupid. Weak. Caught in something bigger than he knew how to handle. But I also remembered the fear in Lily's voice. The way she said, "Look under the floorboards." The next morning, I waited for him to leave. Then I grabbed a crowbar and tore open the guest room floor. Dust. Dirt. Nails. Then a box. Inside it, a necklace. A burner phone. A key. And a Polaroid. Lily. Standing in that very room. Smiling. And I swear, she was holding the necklace. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat there. Breathing. Processing. Realizing. He hadn't buried her body. He'd buried her memory. Every trace of her erased. Hidden. Sanitized. Like she never existed. But she did. And I was holding the proof. I didn't confront him. I didn't throw the box in his face. Instead, I called her sister. I found her online. 2 states over. Said she hadn't heard from Lily in over a year. Thought she just ghosted. She cried when I told her. And then, I left the door unlocked. The police came quietly, warrant in hand. They found the box. And the phone I recovered. Carter was arrested that afternoon. Not for murder, they couldn't prove that yet. But for obstruction. Evidence tampering. Abuse of power. He cried in cuffs. Begged me to say something. To believe him. But I didn't speak. Not then. Not when they dragged him out. Not when they asked if I wanted to press more charges. Because I had already spoken. With silence. The kind that doesn't just wait, it watches. The kind that doesn't scream, it survives. I spent a year sleeping beside a man who thought he buried the truth. But the truth doesn't die quietly. It claws. It breathes. It waits. And when it's ready, it speaks. Just like I did. So if you're watching this, and your gut is telling you something's off, listen. Because silence? It isn't always surrender. Sometimes. It's the calm before justice. And only Revenge ExposedNow could tell this story. Because the end was never his to write.